What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you for another week of picks here from Everyday We're Covering as we take a look at the 2025 Sweet 16 of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. Going to give you some picks here to hopefully get you going, get some change in your pocket, and of course have some fun watching some round ball. SJ, we're hoping for some good games here this round.
I mean, the talk has been, no upsets or missing the Cinderellas. But if you're a ball knower, as they say, that shouldn't matter to you. And go ahead and look at these games, and we'll get you some winners. It's better, honestly, if it's the teams that you think should be there, right? Should benefit at least the gambling aspect of it all.
Yeah, and you should know these teams well, hopefully, because it's a lot of well-known teams and well-known names here for sure as we look at it. So I think what we're going to do, each one of us has got a couple that we like here each day. We're not going to go through every single game. We'll just give you the ones that we like here for Thursday and Friday. So starting off with Thursday's slate of games, I'll let you take the first one here, SJ. What's the first one you like?
Well, I mean, I know these two teams have kind of, put the nets on fire. So this is a little bit, I guess, risky in that sense because both BYU and Alabama have kind of been scoring at a pretty blistering rate there. But God, for a college basketball game, that 175.5 of what I'm getting, that's high, especially when you get to the point where, I mean, you're not playing somebody off like one day's notice, essentially. You got some time to scout them out, and you got some time to kind of see what they do good and what they don't do well. So maybe that factors in. I just think that I don't know who's going to win. BYU is playing amazing. Of course, Alabama's had the better season, but like we talked about, it's kind of who's playing better at the moment. I just think that's a high amount for two teams to combine for in a college basketball game and be confident about. So I'll go ahead and take the under 175.5 in that one. But I do think it should be a pretty good game. I just don't think that it's going to be as high scoring as some of the other contests for these teams have been.
Yeah, I like that pick. That's an awfully high number to get to. I'm going to stay with that game too. As much as this pains me a little bit because I'd rather see this go the other direction just because I'm not real fond of the team, even though they're in the same conference as the team I enjoy. But BYU getting 5.5. I mean, the way they're playing right now, I don't see this game being a blowout. If they lose, I think it'll be by a bucket. So I just see them hanging around. I definitely see them potentially winning this game too. If they play the way they have been playing, I would almost say that I think that they're a little bit more of the favorite. But getting 5.5 points, I'm going to take the Cougars to be able to cover that. What's the next one you like there on Thursday?
So I mean, this probably is like kind of the thought here is that probably maxed out. Perhaps it's just more of there could be some anger issues involved here with how Arkansas ended up knocking out St. John's is who was a team I was hoping to make a run. But either way, I think they kind of maximized in that game, and I don't see that carrying over, especially with what I mentioned before is the the kind of the more prep time, the more time to kind of lock in an opponent. I don't think they're gonna do much here next game. So I like Tech to cover easily. It's only 5.5. They've actually, man, they've looked real good outside of Houston. If it wasn't for them, you'd say, man, that this is probably the well, I guess BYU too. The Big 12 showing out pretty well in the tournament. But I do think Texas Tech is kind of overperformed considering what because I know they had a good season. Of course, you don't get to that win total without, but they have been up and down when it comes to the big games and the bigger moments. So they've looked good, and I think they'll continue that stretch here. And I don't think it's going to be too difficult here. I think they're that nightcap. People that are worried about work on Friday morning, you could probably head to bed at halftime. I think you'll be okay here.
I like that one too. I did. Tech was kind of my wild card, I guess, in my bracket because I had them going to the Final Four, and I still think that's a very strong possibility the way it's shaping up here right now. The game I'm going to go to there on Thursday is, I guess, I'm kind of riding the momentum wave. I'm going with Maryland to cover. They're getting 6.5 against Florida. And again, I don't see this game getting out of hand for them. Florida obviously has looked shaky. Granted, they played a pretty good team last round in UConn, but this Maryland team's got way more size than that UConn team did. And I think that they're going to be able to control the glass. It's going to be really up to Florida shooting well like they do sometimes. But if they're not, Maryland's going to have a real good shot to win this thing, and I like them hanging around within that 6.5. So, especially coming off of a fun buzzer beater, I think they've got a little extra motivation too in their back pocket with everybody talking about that last play and whether or not it was legal or not. I think they're going to be out to prove something. So, I like Maryland to cover there in that one.
Yeah, I mean, to avoid being like, I'm not a root for the conference guy, but I try to just like not pick Big Ten as much as possible, just because you're like, you see it all the time. You're probably that way with the Big 12. It's like, are you like overthinking it? Are you putting too much value on this team? But that was a team we before the conference tournament started, we said, "Hey, if they get going, if they have the right matchup, that's a hell of a team. You don't want to see them." And I know Florida's kind of been like, well, the people that think they're kind of the sharps. That's been kind of their go-to is Florida, but they just squeaked by last game, and I don't think it's a great matchup for them. So that's a great pick, and I would probably be on it too if I'm just kind of trying to not go to the well too much and feel like I'm just overdoing it with a conference affiliation, even though like honestly I want them all to lose if it had it my way, unless it affects my pocketbook.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's Thursday. That's what we like on Thursday. Moving on to Friday in the Sweet 16. I guess I'll start here. This one, going with my first one there on Friday. The one that I first caught my eye, and you're probably maybe on the same wavelength here, but I don't know. I just feel like this is too much of a slam dunk, and this is going against the Big Ten. Houston has looked awesome so far. They control the game. They play the way that they like to play, and usually nobody affects them. And I think this is a nightmare matchup for Purdue. You've got. They don't have the guards to match up with the guards that Houston has. And then you've got size that's really skilled inside for Houston too. And they just seem to make plays when they need to. I mean, if you've watched them so far, every time somebody gets a little bit close, gets a little glimmer of hope, they go and stab them right in the heart with another big shot. So they've got a lot of guys that they can turn to make the big play. And so I like this Houston team. It's at 7.5 right now, which is a little high, but I guess I kind of see this one getting away in the second half. So I'm going to go Houston to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pick on this game. I'll go ahead and make it since you brought it up. I didn't go with either side, but kind of similar to the first pick I made. That total 132.5. That's low even with teams like this, because I know Houston's kind of the muck it up, the ugly. I mean, I guess kind of the Nolan Richardson mold, almost kind of just get up in your ass and play defense and make some layups here and there. So I do think that factors in, but I think they're going to get above that number. That's not, I mean, you took in like a 70-65 game and you're there, and that's not, I wouldn't consider that high scoring.
No.
That's on the lower end, especially if it gets away from them. Houston maybe builds an early lead, and then Purdue, just to make it look respectable, they drill some threes there at the end and kind of get over that total. So I fully expect Houston to win. I thought that 7.5 I just didn't feel as comfortable, just because if they get up early, they take the starters out, rest them for the next game, and then Purdue, hits a couple late shots, or some stupid shit happens, which is probably going to in college basketball. So I was just like, I'll take that total, just because that, to me, it's kind of like the contrast of that first that BYU and Alabama. It's like it's so freaking low. Like I gotta play it at least.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I like that. I like that play. I think, I mean, Houston alone, I think, is going to boost that up. If it goes south, I think Houston scores enough to even get over that number. So that's a good pick. Other one that I'm going to turn to, and I don't know. I went a little bit back and forth on what to find here in this next one, but I'm going to go with Michigan State laying the 3.5. I just feel like they're the better team here. Obviously, I have a little bit of bitterness bias that I want Ole Miss to go down in flames, but it's one of those. To me, it just looks like one of those scenarios where the gas is going to run out of the tank for Ole Miss. And Michigan State, again, been there, done that. They know these scenarios. They're playing really well. It's been ongoing for them for a lot longer than it has this Ole Miss team. So I think the consistency shows up. They maybe get a couple of free throws down the stretch that ice this thing away and cover that number if they need it to. So I'm going to go Michigan State.
Right there with you. I think it's it's you maxed out in your last game. Congratulations. I mean, you're one of the 16 best teams according to the tournament, so you did that much. But I just don't think there's much more for them to accomplish. Or even if they play their best, I don't know if that's going to be good enough just because of the way they play. And are they going to hit, 25 threes, or I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it seemed like it last game as they did again. That's what they're going to need, that type of effort. So I'll kind of back you on that one. And then just something to throw out there. I don't know. This is I do kind of like this play being plus money, but Kentucky's either getting 4.5, which 4.5 points, which I mean that's not plus money. That's like look at -110. But I honestly like them to win outright. So plus 160 at a couple of books I'm looking at. If you're feeling like an underdog, maybe we haven't had it yet. That's about as good as an underdog as you're going to get in this tournament. Apparently, I think they've been playing well. I just think they're kind of one of those teams like similar to like a Maryland or even BYU, just playing good at the right time, or even throw Houston in that mix. Just it's all a matter of who gets hot and win. And now's the time to be playing well, and those teams seem to be doing so.
Yeah, don't hate that as well. It's a good look. So that's some of the hot picks that we're on here for the Sweet 16. Obviously, as those teams advance, and we'll throw things up for you on socials as well with when we get on to the Elite Eight here. So make sure you're following us at SGM Bets, at Cherokee CP. You see the handles there on Twitter, and then also SJ going to have some fights coming up here this weekend. So be on the lookout. You're going to put some stuff up for that as well as we get closer to that mark.
Yeah, we'll have some UFC at least, and then maybe throw a little boxing in here and there, depending on what I like on the schedule. But yeah, make sure just like you said, stay on that Twitter machine. We'll have stuff out there, and we'll give you plenty of time to at least make a play. It's not always the video, like you said. Sometimes it's a challenge, but we can at least get some info out there, at least with a couple hours of lead time.
All right, so that's what we got here for you. Thanks for joining us here for another round of picks. So hope you enjoy a lot of good hoops here in the round, the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for some more picks on every day we're covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.